On April 7th, the projected #1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, Fernando Mendoza, announced he would not attend the event in Pittsburgh, choosing instead to experience the moment privately with his family in Miami. But shortly after that announcement, he reportedly sent a shocking message to the league that immediately caused panic across the NFL, including among team owners, after allegedly revealing disturbing details and the real reasons behind his decision not to show up. What he said has reportedly left the entire league shaken. And in this video, we break down everything that led to this moment and why it's causing such a massive reaction. Fernando Mendoza, the projected #1 pick in the NFL Draft, has informed the league that he is not planning to attend the draft, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. Mendoza wants to share the draft experience with his family in Miami. Now, let's put this in perspective. The Las Vegas Raiders hold the top overall selection in the draft, which will take place April 23 to 25. The Raiders hold the top pick and will most likely select the Heisman Trophy winner. That means when Roger Goodell steps to the podium to announce the first pick of the 2026 NFL Draft, Mendoza is not expected to be there to join Goodell on stage and pose with his new team jersey and cap. The broadcast will likely show Mendoza enjoying the moment remotely, as the league typically does with players who don't go to the draft. Cameras in Miami, a living room somewhere, a party with the people who carried him from a park football field in South Florida to the top of the sport. Fernando Mendoza made a major decision just a few days before the 2026 NFL Draft, leaving the league somewhat disappointed. As a result, although he is a likely first overall pick, he will not attend the highly anticipated ceremony in person, which may leave Raiders fans disappointed. While there is great prestige in being in the green room and potentially being the first pick in the draft, all signs suggest Mendoza prefers a more private experience. The green room is where invited players wait with their families to be called by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. However, for many players, not being selected as early as expected can create uncomfortable moments in front of the cameras. For Mendoza, that part is essentially irrelevant. There is virtually zero uncertainty about where he's going. Everyone knows, he knows, the Raiders know, the entire football world knows. Mendoza undoubtedly knows where he is going. Nobody is making it much of a secret. And yet, despite knowing he's almost certainly going to be the first name called, he's choosing Miami over Pittsburgh. He's choosing the couch over the stage. He's choosing his family over the spectacle. Mendoza's decision to skip the draft is highly unusual, as top prospects typically attend the event in person. This move could signal a shift in how elite players approach the draft process, prioritizing personal comfort over the traditional spectacle. According to Schefter, Mendoza will be the first potential first overall pick quarterback to skip attending the draft in person since Trevor Lawrence in 2021. Think about that. The last time a quarterback this locked in at #1 chose not to attend was Trevor Lawrence, a generational talent who was anointed years before. He was even eligible for the draft. And now Fernando Mendoza is doing the same thing. But here's where the story gets more layered, more textured, more human than you might expect. Because Fernando Mendoza's relationship with family isn't just about preference. It isn't just that he'd rather hang out with his parents than walk across a stage in a suit. There's something deeper, something rooted in sacrifice and struggle, in a bond that was forged through circumstances no football trophy can fully reflect. Mendoza's mother, Elsa, has lived with multiple sclerosis for over 15 years and is currently using a wheelchair, which could be a reason for his reported decision to stay home. That changes the entire calculus, doesn't it? This isn't a player snubbing the NFL. This isn't arrogance or indifference. This is a 22-year-old young man who has watched his mother battle a degenerative disease, his entire life choosing to sit beside her on the most important professional night of his career, and to really grasp why this moment matters so much to him, and why this decision tells you everything about the kind of person entering the NFL. We have to go back to the beginning. Fernando Gabriel Mendoza V was born on October 1st, 2003, in Boston, Massachusetts, and grew up in Miami, Florida. From there, they moved to Olvera, then to Cuba, and later to the United States. A family lineage that stretches across continents and centuries. In an essay she penned for the Players Tribune in December, titled Dear Fernando, Fernando Mendoza's mother, Elsa Mendoza, shared that she became pregnant with him at age 25. After moving from Miami to Boston following graduate school. Described as his biggest fan, Elsa Mendoza is a former University of Miami tennis player who has become a quick rising star during her son's rise to the Heisman and throughout Indiana's postseason journey. Elsa was an athlete herself. She played tennis at the University of Miami. She understood competition, the discipline of sport, the solitary grind of preparing your body and mind for a contest. And when she became a mother in a new city, far from her support system, she poured every ounce of that competitive spirit into raising her son. Fernando was always described as the biggest, sweetest boy. In preschool, his teachers would say he was a gentle giant. He wasn't fast. He wasn't the kid other coaches were salivating over. When the family signed him up for park football, the coaches wanted him on the defensive line. But Fernando had other ideas. Even after the family moved back to Miami, one Boston thing stuck. His love for Tom Brady. He idolized him and wanted to play quarterback like him. And this is where one of the most endearing origin stories in recent football history unfolds. Elsa's dream was actually for Fernando to play tennis like she did. So she taught him a drill from her University of Miami days. A serve drill where you practice throwing a ball across the net. Step and throw, step and throw, she recalled telling Fernando and Alberto as kids. That simple tennis instruction became the foundation of a throwing motion that would one day win a Heisman Trophy and a national championship. The quarterback coaches would later joke with Elsa that it was the worst thing she could have taught him. But he made it work. Fernando attended Christopher Columbus High School in Miami. As a quarterback on the football team, he completed 133 of his 203 pass attempts for 1,396 yards and 16 touchdowns with 4 interceptions, while also adding 137 yards and a touchdown on the ground across 2 seasons. As a starter, he led his team to an 11-3 record and advanced to the 2021 state semifinals. He was rated a 3-star prospect, far from the 5-star quarterbacks who dominate recruiting rankings. He was not on anyone's radar, not Alabama's, not Ohio State's, not Clemson's, not any of the traditional quarterback factories that churn out first-round picks. He originally committed to play college football at Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut, before deciding to flip to the University of California, Berkeley. The seismic shift in his recruitment came late in the cycle. The University of California, Berkeley extended him a scholarship offer in January 2022 after another quarterback decommitted from the program. This was the single, solitary FBS Power 5 offer Mendoza received from over 130 eligible programs. One offer, one single Power 5 scholarship from over 130 programs. The man who was about to go number 1 overall in the NFL draft, the consensus best player in his draft class, had exactly one school willing to give him a shot at the highest level of college football. And it almost didn't happen. He was about to play in the Ivy League. Fernando's father, Fernando Sr., had played football at Columbus, alongside current Miami coach Mario Cristobal and offensive line coach Alex Mirabal. Football ran in the blood. The competitive drive was inherited, but the opportunities, those had to be scratched and clawed for. And through all of this, through the recruiting disappointments, through the overlooked high school career, she had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis about 18 years ago, but hid it from her sons when they were young. You and Alberto were so young, and I was doing fine, and mostly I didn't want you to worry. It just felt like this impossible thing to place on you guys, on my sweet boys. She carried it in silence for years. While her sons were chasing footballs and dreaming of the NFL, her condition worsened about 10 years ago when she broke her ankle and knee while skiing. But even after that, she wasn't quite ready to tell her sons, only saying her leg hadn't healed all the way. It wasn't until 5 years ago when she got COVID that things started to go downhill, in a way where there was no more hiding it. The disease forced a conversation no mother wants to have with her children. She had to sit Fernando and Alberto down and explain that their mom had a degenerative condition, one with no cure, one that would progressively change their family's daily life. And Fernando's response to that conversation tells you everything about the man, who just told the NFL he's staying home for the draft. When Fernando Mendoza arrived at UC Berkeley in 2022, he wasn't a starter. He wasn't even close. Mendoza redshirted during the 2022 season. He spent that year on the scout team, replicating the plays of Cal's upcoming opponents in practice. Invisible work that builds character, but earns no headlines. He earned his first career start in Week 6 of the 2023 season against Oregon State. He completed 21 of 32 pass attempts for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns with an interception. in a loss to the Beavers. Not a dazzling debut. Not a moment that made anyone think future #1 overall pick, but it was a start. Mendoza was named the team's starting quarterback heading forward. In 8 starts as a redshirt freshman, he completed 63% of his passes for 1,708 yards and 14 touchdowns, leading the Golden Bears to a 6-7 record and an Independence Bowl appearance. The numbers were solid, not spectacular. The team was middling, and all the while, the Bears were in the late stages of the Justin Wilcox era, marked by significant offensive upheaval. During Mendoza's 3 years at Cal, the Bears had 3 different offensive coordinators, 3 systems in 3 years, 3 different vocabularies, 3 different philosophies, 3 different visions for how to use the quarterback Cal had taken a chance on. In 2024, his sophomore year, Mendoza won the starting job outright. The 6'5", 225-pound quarterback put together a stellar season for the Bears, throwing for 3,004 yards, 16 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions, despite a porous offensive line that allowed the 5th most sacks per game in college football. He was getting hit constantly, operating behind one of the most porous offensive lines in the country, and still producing at a high level. The Golden Bears started the season 3-0, including a road win over Auburn, that Mendoza calls one of the highlights of his time in Berkeley. It set the stage for a Week 5 primetime game against number 8 Miami, with College Game Day in town for the occasion. His team built a 35-10 lead with 8:06 left in the 3rd quarter, and lost. Cal gave up 2 touchdowns with less than 5 minutes left in the game, including one with only 26 seconds left, a devastating result for a team that seemed primed for a defining victory. The loss was the beginning of the end for what Mendoza calls the most talented team he's ever played with. A 3-0 start quickly turned to 3-4 with those 4 losses by a combined 9 points. We had a ton of heartbreaking losses to a point that was backbreaking for some people, such as myself, Mendoza said. That kind of heartbreak, blowing a 25-point lead on national television, then dropping 3 more games by a combined 9 points, would break most players. But it clarified something for Mendoza. He needed a change, not because Cal failed him, but because his window to develop into an NFL quarterback was narrowing, and the coaching carousel in Berkeley wasn't giving him the stability he needed. On December 11, 2024, Mendoza announced he would be entering the NCAA transfer portal. On December 23, 2024, Mendoza announced his decision to transfer to Indiana University Bloomington to play for the Hoosiers, and this decision, it was rooted in family too. Another reason why Mendoza decided to go to Bloomington was his younger brother, Alberto, who was already a redshirt freshman quarterback at Indiana. Alberto had given Fernando the inside scoop. He told him about Curt Cignetti's coaching staff, about the development pipeline, about how the program was transforming players who'd been overlooked, just like Fernando himself. When discussing his transfer, Mendoza said he viewed Indiana as the best place for growth, choosing the program over blue bloods like Georgia and Missouri because Cignetti promised to turn him into the best Fernando Mendoza possible. Not the next Patrick Mahomes, not the next Joe Burrow, the best version of himself. That specific phrasing, the best Fernando Mendoza, matters. It signals a young man with extraordinary self-awareness, someone who doesn't measure himself against others, but against his own potential. And at Indiana, he detonated that potential in ways nobody imagined. The 2025 season at Indiana wasn't just good. It was historically unprecedented. Mendoza led the Hoosiers to a perfect 16-0 record and the program's first national championship in football. Mendoza completed an absurd 72% of his passes for 3,535 yards and 41 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. The efficiency was staggering. The consistency was relentless. Week after week, game after game, Mendoza dismantled opposing defenses with surgical precision that made scouts recalibrate their entire draft boards. Against the Indiana State Sycamores, Mendoza completed 19 of 20 passes for 270 yards and 5 touchdowns and ran for an additional touchdown. In a 73-0 win, he did not return to the game after halftime. Mendoza threw for a career-high 5 passing touchdowns against the number 9 Illinois Fighting Illini, on 21 of 23 passing with 267 yards against the number 3 ranked Oregon Ducks. He completed 20 of 31 passes for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. In a 30-20 upset win on the road, The Big Ten championship fell, Ohio State fell. The conference title, Indiana's first outright Big Ten championship since 1945, belonged to Bloomington. And then came the Heisman Trophy ceremony. When Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman Trophy on December 13, 2025, becoming Indiana's first ever winner, he dedicated the award to his mother. The words he spoke that night in New York pierced through the usual Heisman platitudes and corporate thank yous. "Mommy, this is your trophy as much as it is mine," Fernando said in his acceptance speech, fighting back tears. "You've always been my biggest fan. You're my light, you're my why, you're my biggest supporter." He continued, "You taught me that toughness doesn't need to be loud. It can be quiet and strong. It's choosing hope. It's believing in yourself when the world doesn't give you much reason to." This wasn't rehearsed media training. This was a son speaking to his mother, through the TV cameras, telling the entire country what she meant to him, while she watched from a wheelchair. And the room felt it. Everyone watching felt it. Mendoza did not forget Cal in his acceptance speech. "To my Cal family, thanks for being the first to believe in my future," he said. He remembered everyone, every person who had invested in him, every program that had shaped him, every step of the improbable journey that brought a 3-star recruit from Christopher Columbus High School to the Heisman podium. And then came the national championship game, a poetic crescendo to an already storybook season. In the 2026 College Football Playoff National Championship against Miami, Mendoza completed 16 passes for 186 yards, while rushing for a 12-yard touchdown, leading Indiana to a 27-21 victory. He was named Offensive Player of the Game. The game was played at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, just 3 miles from Christopher Columbus High School. 3 miles. The national championship game was played 3 miles from the high school, where Fernando Mendoza learned to play football, in a stadium practically in his mother's backyard, against Miami, the school his father's high school teammates now coached for. You could not write a more perfect screenplay. After the game, video showed Fernando sharing an emotional embrace with both parents on the field, a fitting ending to a journey that began with his mother teaching him to throw. In their backyard, Mendoza and his younger brother Alberto have turned their platform into a fundraising engine for MS research, helping generate more than $150,000 through campaigns tied to the National MS Society. Together with Alberto, Fernando had already launched initiatives to raise awareness for multiple sclerosis, to create the Mendoza Bros Burger, a Cuban-style burger inspired by their heritage, with proceeds supporting MS awareness and research. Before accepting the Heisman Trophy, Fernando partnered with Adidas to provide a shopping spree for 4 families affected by multiple sclerosis, with each family receiving $10,000 to purchase Adidas products. This wasn't performative charity. This was a young man using every platform available to him, NIL deals, brand partnerships, collegiate fame, to fight his mother's disease. And when you understand that, the decision to skip the NFL draft doesn't just make sense. It feels inevitable. So let's come back to the draft. Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza said he will not be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for the 2026 NFL draft, per Adam Schefter. Instead, the presumptive number 1 overall pick will be in his hometown of Miami, Florida. With friends, Miami is an important city for Mendoza. Not only is it where he grew up dreaming of becoming a professional QB, but it's also the setting for the most important football game of his life to date. In the College Football Playoff national title game against the school he always wanted to play for, the Miami Hurricanes, Mendoza led the Hoosiers to their first football championship in Miami's own home stadium. When Mendoza's name is called, he will become an NFL quarterback, where it all started in Miami. The Raiders haven't been shy about expressing an affinity for Mendoza. During the pre-draft process, he's a winner. He's accurate. He's tall and intelligent, Raiders head coach Clint Kubiak said at the league meetings last week. In fact, Mendoza is already learning the Kubiak playbook. Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network reported that on Friday, March 28th, Fernando Mendoza is working with Brian Grease right now. And it's not so much that they're working on footwork, Jeremiah said. They're installing the Raiders offense. He's full speed ahead. This is the same thing that happened with Joe Burrow, where you can use this time to really try and learn the core verbiage and concepts, along with an offense. He's already installing the playbook. He's already doing the work. The man isn't checking out. He's checking in on a level that most draft prospects don't reach until training camp. The difference is, he's doing it from home, where his mother can see him, where his family can be part of every single moment. Raiders minority owner Tom Brady and general manager John Spytek have said numerous times that they believe in not playing a young quarterback right away, making it no sure thing that Mendoza would start Week 1. The Raiders officially signed Kirk Cousins on Monday, providing them with a veteran quarterback who can start while Mendoza develops. Cousins also has familiarity with new Raiders head coach Clint Kubiak. During Cousins' time with the Minnesota Vikings, Kubiak was his quarterback's coach for 2 seasons and his offensive coordinator for another. The infrastructure is in place. The veteran bridge quarterback is signed. The coaching staff knows how to develop young signal callers. And Mendoza, he admitted following Indiana's Pro Day last Wednesday that there are many areas he can improve on. "I'm putting all of my efforts toward just trying to be the best quarterback possible for the season," Mendoza said, "but I know at the next level there's going to be a lot more snaps under center. And that's a big adjustment. I need to get used to that. And just the nature of the game. Not only that, the hash marks are more condensed, and the speed of the game is faster. So, all those things I look forward to learning." In place on offense for the Raiders is running back Ashton Jeanty, tight end Brock Bowers, and an improved offensive line on paper, which includes free agent pickup center Tyler Linderbaum. If the predictions hold true, Mendoza will be the missing piece, needed to maximize the talent of playmakers like Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers. Assuming the Raiders take Mendoza with the top selection, he will be the first #1 pick to not attend the draft in person since Trayvon Walker in 2022. Walker instead opted to watch the draft with his family at a hotel in Atlanta. While the last 3 #1 picks, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, and Cam Ward, all attended the draft in person. Several recent top picks have not. Before that, Baker Mayfield was selected by the Cleveland Browns first overall in the 2018 NFL Draft at his home in Austin, Texas. This includes 2020 numbered 1 pick Joe Burrow, who did not have the option to attend the draft in person since the entire event was held remotely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So when people say Fernando Mendoza is sending a chilling message to the NFL by skipping the draft, the truth might be simpler and more powerful than any act of defiance could ever be. This isn't a message to the NFL at all. It's a message to his mother. It's a message to his family. It's a 22-year-old kid from Miami saying that the most important night of his professional life will be spent the same way the most important night of his college career ended, with his arms around the people who made him. If you know anything about Mendoza, you know he's the quintessential nice guy. And it's not at all surprising he's opting to spend the biggest night of his football life with his family. While Mendoza is unlikely to face the uncomfortable green room situation, another factor influenced his decision. The NFL's invitation restrictions make it difficult for the quarterback to bring teammates to the draft ceremony. The draft's guest policies limit how many people you can bring. And for a man who has credited his entire Indiana team, his brother Alberto, his coaches, his Cal family, and above all his parents, a limited guest list in a convention center in Pittsburgh doesn't capture the full scope of what this moment means. And there's one more quiet, devastating detail. Mendoza's mother uses a wheelchair because of her disease. Her disease progressed in 2015 when she broke her knee, and later when she contracted COVID-19. The logistics of travel, the strain of a long trip to Pittsburgh, the exhaustion of navigating a massive public event. By staying in Miami, Fernando is not just choosing comfort, he's choosing compassion. He's making sure the person who taught him how to throw a football, step and throw, can watch her son become an NFL quarterback without enduring a single unnecessary hardship. As for his brother Alberto, the future NFL star said, he can't wait to look back and savor the memories they made during their undefeated year. We're going to be able to talk about when we're both 60 years old in the rocking chair, he told people. Some moments are too big for a stage. Some moments belong in a living room with the people who were there when nobody else was. On April 23rd, when Roger Goodell steps to the podium and calls Fernando Mendoza's name, the cameras will cut to Miami, and what the world will see is not a player who snubbed the NFL. What the world will see is a son sitting beside his mother, surrounded by his family, becoming exactly what Elsa Mendoza always knew he would become. There's one thing that makes Mendoza different. He's also the starting quarterback for Indiana University, where he has emerged as a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender. and likely a first-round NFL draft pick. In a sport where every quarterback is expected to be the CEO of his offense, Mendoza is the rare signal caller who dreamed of a career in the corner office. According to Mendoza's Indiana bio, he earned his undergraduate from Cal in business administration in just 3 years. At Indiana, he is pursuing a master's degree in business administration and management, an MBA, a Heisman Trophy, a national championship, a business degree from Berkeley in 3 years, an MBA in progress at Indiana, a $150,000 fundraising campaign for MS Research, a brother who doubles as his backup quarterback and lifelong best friend, a mother who taught him to throw with a tennis drill and never stopped believing in her gentle giant, and now a first overall pick who would rather be home than in a spotlight. That's not a chilling message, that's a love letter, and the NFL should consider itself lucky to have him.